This video is going to show how to use the GCode system in our C4 software. So essentially, in our toolbox, this is a list of all the instructions that the machine can perform. One of those is it can just run a GCode file. So we're going to insert a GCode file into our main program list, and then just click on it, and then we can switch over to the GCode editor where we can actually edit GCode. So we'll do something like G1 X0 Y0 Z0 and then feed 100. Okay, and then we'll tell it to go to say X 1 inch and then Y 1 inch. We'll just capitalize that, we don't really have to. And then what I can do is just hit update. And if I zoom fit that, you'll see that it creates this simple shape. This is 0 right here, moves to X of 1 and then Y of 1. I can do a toolpath simulation to just show where the machine is going to go. Okay. So now let's go ahead and do G2, and we'll give it a radius of 1, and we'll tell it to go to X3. So that should give us a radius there. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and just go back to G1 mode and Y0, and then we'll hit update. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and just go to X of 4 inches. Okay, so I just programmed a simple kind of a tangent entry onto a radius, and I can show what the machine's going to do with this slider bar here. And now if I was actually connected to the machine, I can just hit cycle start, and the machine is actually running now and cutting out that shape. Okay, so pretty basic, but I think you'll find that just the GCode editing system is pretty powerful to compare others. So yeah, so let's go back over here to our main program list. So this is the GCode file that contains this shape that we just created. I'm going to go ahead and comment that out. And then I'm going to insert another GCode file, and this time I'm going to select from a file that I already have on this computer here. And it's this more complicated GCode file that was created with a CAM system, an external CAM system. So in this case, I can click on the GCode file again and look at the GCode directly. This is not something that a human can really edit because there's just too many lines of GCode. I mean, you could try, but you wouldn't get too far. So with this, the same thing, we can do a toolpath simulate, so we can see it going around, and then the kind of the instruction is going to use to cut this out. Okay. And then of course, if I'm connected to a machine, we can hit cycle start again, and the machine is now running. And just like any other conventional machine, you can see the GCode kind of whizzing by, especially with a toolpath like this. You're going to go by pretty quick. So let's see, I can do something like go ahead and stop the machine here, and then I can we'll go ahead and just scroll down until we find like this instruction right here. So I just highlight that instruction, I click on cycle start with options, and I can say run from selected line. So what that's going to do is that's actually going to start from that line rather than starting at the beginning of the program. It'll start from that line and just continue from there. Okay. So it's just another feature that we have. You can start anywhere from the middle of a program. Okay, so let's go ahead and show a couple more of the features. So let's come back over here to our CAM operations again. And over here is where I have my two different GCode programs that are loaded in memory. I can, of course, comment out the larger one, and I'll comment back in the smaller one. And I can actually rename these to whatever I want. So we'll actually just call this small file, and we'll call this one the big file. Okay, and that's just a way to visually separate the two instructions out, or the two programs out. So what I'm going to do now is come over here to the small file, and we have a couple of options here. We have things like just basically an offset, so I could come over here and change like the Y to 5, and you can see the shape that we made just jumps up to 5 inches. Or I can switch this option right here called modal from not modal over to modal. And then I can insert it's called a mill point, which is just an XYZ location. And it puts that shape at 0, 0. And then I can type in another mill point at 2 inches. So basically I've taken this one GCode file and I've repeated it 2 times. Okay. at each of these locations. And I can do that as many times as I want. I can actually right click. Every time I right click, it adds a mill point, and it reproduces that shape up there. So now, of course, since all these locations are just pulling from the original small G-code file, I can come over here and make a change to this. We'll say changes to 1.5 for the radius. Hit update, and you can see all of these repeated patterns are all pulling from that original G-code file. Okay, and so that worked out well. So now the last thing I'll show real quick are just our G54 through G59 offsets, which are typical of most G-codes. These are just fixture offsets or machine offsets. And then we also have our table of tools. So we bring up a table of one of the tools from there, and you can get a graphical representation of what it's going to look like on the screen. You can edit the shank profile right here in this page, and this has our length offset and our diameter offset for tool compensation. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the whole G-code system. Okay, thanks.